welcome back to Headlines Now. Now, there couldn't be a better time to wear your pink ribbon than now October, which is the month of breast cancer awareness. Spreading awareness is the key to bringing down the occurrence of the disease that is haunting women all around the world. Our reporter Zoya Thomas brings us the rising number of cases, existing myths and attached fears.
Breast cancer will soon overtake cervical cancer as the most reported type of cancer among women in India. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, the estimated breast cancer cases in India in 2010 is over 90,000, and this is all set to rise. Survivors of breast cancer, including celebrities like Kylie Minogue and Lisa Ray, have come forward to do their bit in helping patients deal with the trauma. But despite increased efforts to spread awareness, doctors say treatment fears still bog down many of those affected.
Well, this fear is a myth created by lack of awareness. Because once a diagnosis of cancer, people believe nothing can be done. They believe cancer is incurable. So this myth of incurability of cancer has to be dispelled. And the best way will be to have more and more people cured of the disease.
Apart from awareness, the challenge to shatter myths that surround breast cancer is a huge problem. So much so that many women from both urban and rural areas refuse treatment because of these.
I grew up on movies like Safar and Anand, and they always show the person who's suffering with cancer saying, so long, farewell, go went gone.
Many diagnosed say that it not only affects the health, but also their relationships with others. But the disease is curable, provided it is detected early. In Chennai, Zoya Thomas for Ndtv-Hindu.
Right, now that is one issue that was raised by our reporter Zoya Thomas, and to build on that, we have in our studios with us Dr. Ratna Devi, an oncologist, and Mrs. Neerja Malik, a cancer survivor who braved the illness twice. So let's go across to our guests now. Ma'am, again, I'll post the first question to you. This is one disease that is making headlines a lot more. That comes that again, a whole month of October has been dedicated towards breast awareness. How critical do you think it is now, in association with in the context of the lifestyle changes that we do see? How much of that really impacts something like breast cancer?
Lifestyle, yes, it has changed a lot now. And if you see 2 decades ago, that is our grandmother and mother period, the age at menarche is about 14 years. Now you see the girls attain their menarche at 9 or 10 years, and menopause has become late, like about 50, 55. So the number of cycles is more. Right. And the lifestyle, the metro people, especially late marriage, late childbirth, unable to breastfeed because of the occupation. So these are also changes in the lifestyle which has increased the incidence of this cancer.
So essentially, net, if I can read into what you're saying, is that women and women living in metros are a lot more vulnerable to this disease than perhaps their counterparts in rural areas.
Yes, according to the Madras Metro's survey, 1 in 28 is at risk. 1 in 28 women is at risk.
That's a very critical figure that you point out. 1 in 28 is the figure that we're talking about here. But let's take it a step ahead. Let's talk about symptoms and factors that perhaps women, for that matter, can watch out for. Maybe certain factors that they need to keep in mind about being aware. So if you...
Yes. One of the myths which you showed, any lump in the breast is not cancer. 80% of the lumps are non-malignant. I would like to specify on that. Because of all these awareness programs, people are getting scared or fear because of these lumps. 80% of the lumps are not cancer. Right. But who's going to decide whether these lumps are cancer or not is us, the oncologist. Right. They have to come and tell us.
So essentially what you're saying is counseling, initially diagnosing the illness in this case, and counseling from perhaps an oncologist is very critical here to handle the first stage of the...
Yes, it is important.
Right.
And the women should be aware what is normal and what is not normal. That is, self-breast examination is one of the best and easy tool where each woman can practice at home. Right. Any abnormality in the size or shape, any dimpling, retraction of the nipple, or any discharge like bloody discharge, all these are could be the symptoms of cancer.
So these are preliminary signs, you would call them that. And to take it from there, ma'am, I'll put this question to you. To talk about this disease and you have faced it twice, you've braved it twice. And to talk about this disease in the context of how do you take it forward? You recognize the fact that I am suffering from an illness. How do you take it forward from there? What would your advice be? Counseling advice in terms of going to oncologists, advice in terms of actually braving up psychologically for this one illness?
I think a lot depends on your attitude. And here I'd like to say that the minute I talk to a patient, they may come into my room feeling very depressed, traumatized, angry, upset, frustrated. But the minute I say, hey, I've done that, been there, I have worn these moccasins, there is an immediate shift in perception. And the person shifts from being upset to, all right, let me hear more. Okay. Did your hair fall? Did your nails turn black? Did you feel nauseous?
A feeling of correlation where you're able to identify.
Complete identification, and then there is no, what's your background, what's my background. Okay. Within 2 seconds flat, there is an instant rapport, and then the patient is all mine.
Right. Now to put this in perspective, now it is one major illness that we are seeing. You pointed out the figure 1 in 28, that's the risk level that we're looking at, and also a lifestyle disease in terms of metro women being more vulnerable. But to put this question to you, you've braved this this illness twice. Is it even fair to call it an illness? Does that really add to the magnitude of perhaps perception about breast cancer than it actually does command? Do you think it's right to even call it a disease, or maybe it's just not the challenge that needs to be overcome?
I would say that it is just another disease. And there is some wonderful stuff that I came across on the net, and I tell the patients this, that why don't we consider the word cancer as only a word? Supposing I pass this to you, Ashmit, are you scared? No, you're not. So pen, monitor, everything, no one is scared. But the minute you say cancer, traumatized, everything. So we have to separate.
A lot is read into the word cancer there.
Exactly.
Right. So just to summarize it, all of it, one important factor is myths. So if you can just point out 3-4 myths that are very critical, that people actually mistake and are not really aware of that. So if you can just point out for some very common myths that people do have about this one disease.
One is, I happened to talk to a few college students, and one of the students asked me whether using black brazier will produce breast cancer. One other myth is whether it is infectious, whether I can hug my child, whether we pass it on to the other person. It is not infectious.
And these are all unfounded fears.
Yeah, unfounded
one
fears.
more myth, that a man can't get it.
Right.
It is known that it can attack a man also. And I would like to bring out a case here when doctor said that it is infectious. There was a very young girl, that's another myth, I'm too young to get it. So there was this young girl of maybe 22, and she had a young child, and she was absolutely fearful, not about what she was going through, but when she holds her child, will the child get the disease? When she's with her husband.
So this is again a case of unfounded fears that you're telling us about.
So it took quite a while for me, because she was from Assam, it took quite a while for me to get her out of this.
Right, ma'am. I think with that, we're nearing the end of the discussion. Thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely to have you. And of course, your insight. Again, it is the breast awareness month that we are talking about, breast cancer awareness. And it sheds a lot of light. So a great deal of thanks for actually coming to our show and for enlightening us. Because I have to confess, I was one of the people who didn't quite know about so many of these things which can actually impact both men and women, about a lot of myths being dispersed there by the experts on the show. Moving ahead. If you thought the youth of today are not concerned about the various issues that confront the country, well, think again. For the BATE, the inter-college debating competition jointly conducted by the debating clubs of Lady Andal and Bhavan Rajaji's Vidyashram schools, saw the school kids fiercely voicing their concern for the topics as vast as legalizing the prostitution to deciding whether Indian democracy is a new political system or an anarchy. And to do justice to the competition were the eminent judges who articulately critiqued and appreciated the participants. The team from Sri Ram Law Academy, T Nagar, were crowned the winners.
The Indian democracy has undergone so many changes, which is why it's called a new political system. It has undergone so many changes that some people might not even recognize it anymore. But that does not mean that it is not a democracy. It is a new form of democracy, constantly striving to become the ideal democracy which none of us might ever achieve. democracy is ideally meant to empower you and me. But unfortunately, that is not so. Anarchy basically is people ruling themselves. Then India is an anarchy minus the chaos, confusion and absolute lawlessness.
Right, moving ahead, another allegation of corruption smears the organizing committee. It only seems to be getting dirtier from here. We'll tell you more about that on the other side.